physicists have recognized that there is a deterministic component in the physical universe that works just as we have always thought, but that there is something else at work, woven into the fabric of the universe itself, very, very subtly, not disturbing the mechanical unfolding, so that it looks to somebody who doesn't look sharply enough as though everything is mechanical. But if you look at it carefully enough and understand it, you see that in fact each individual event is being influenced by something that is not part of the universe. And since, furthermore, the theory itself requires that it not be part of the universe, we're left with a boundary. And a number of physicists have said that, in fact, quantum mechanics is a boundary science. It is the science that shows us the boundary of what is possible for human beings to know simply through examining the nature of the physical universe itself, that there is something else going on that science can never tell us about. So, those are my comments. I don't know, Rav, if you want me to take any questions or simply stop there. Avihu, do you know?
אפשר מתוך זה לעשות איזה מין המשך לתחת הקבלה. נראה לי שיש מתוך הקושייה הזאת שמגלים שיש איזה כוח נוסף שפועל ביקום. האם מתוך זה יכולים...
From that question, Rav is asking, Rav has a question. From that question that you showed where the boundary of science is, do you think, or is there a way to carry on to what's going above that boundary and to connect it to the wisdom of Kabbalah? Or how, from that question, how can we reach out to the wisdom of Kabbalah?
Sure. The question was...
Or maybe a different theory.
The question was, is there a way of relating this to the wisdom of Kabbalah? I'll simply offer my opinion. And let me emphasize that. This is simply my opinion. I'm not claiming that my answer is the correct answer. It seems to me that it is an essential part of what quantum mechanics claims in its theory, that from science we can know nothing about the nature of what is beyond the physical world. That's the subtle, very powerful nature of the boundary condition that is quantum mechanics. It on the one hand, it is what gives it its immense, extraordinary, unmatched power in the physical world. But it also is, if you will, it's a condition of humility. And for me, it's been a source of great reflection, or an opportunity for great reflection on the nature of not only what science can't do as science, but also, again, for me at least, it has been an opportunity for me to reflect on how important it is for the individual human being not to be told from the outside, for science to say, this is the correct direction. For science to say, science points towards Kabbalah as the correct direction. But rather, it's as though quantum mechanics, or let me put it better, that a close examination, even of the physical world, hands to human beings a great responsibility by saying, look, examine the physical world carefully, and you will discover that there is something tremendously important beyond this world. Science cannot tell you what it is. It is part of your responsibility to decide what it is. Now, in listening, for example, to the Rav lecture, but not only the Rav. The Rav's lectures I find unusually moving, but Rav is not the only person whose words suggest to me the importance of that in the act of returning love, there must be the freedom to reject love. That when you, even in human love, you don't want the person who loves you to somehow be driven to love you with no capacity to reject you. You want, the freedom to reject you needs to be there. And so it seems to me, again, this is merely my opinion, that the Creator offers us the opportunity to consider the words of Kabbalah and to reject them as untrue. And that it somehow strikes me as not, in the scheme of things, that an examination of the physical world could, in a sense, force the conclusion that Kabbalah is correct. That it requires something else in the human soul to make that assent. And that all that the physical world and science can do is lead one up to that boundary and help in the recognition that there is something beyond the physical world. Yeah, certainly. Yes, sir.
What do you mean that one particle can be in two places?
Okay, the question was, what do I mean that one particle can be in two places? Now, so let me be very precise here, because I used a similar phrase here now, and I used that exact phrase in a movie that I was in recently, and they actually mean two different things. So let me clarify this. It is a general principle in quantum mechanics that particles can be in multiple states, not necessarily places. This is called a superposition of states. When a particle is in a superposition of states, it is not being detected by anything, and it is not interacting with anything. Let me also clarify that detection or observation is merely one form of interaction. There can be impersonal forms of interaction with a particle that have nothing to do with detection or observation. So if a particle is floating freely in space, it can be in multiple states. For instance, a particle of light, a photon, can be simultaneously in a left circular polarization state and a right circular polarization state. And I'm talking about here states of polarization of the sort that your sunglasses deal with. It's nothing out of the ordinary. It doesn't have to be two physical places. If we were to talk about states in this sense of superposition and mean by that physical location, the particle wouldn't actually be in more than one location. It would be in, we would have to talk about something like position states, in which case there would be nothing in any location. Yet, when a particle is in a superposition of states, when it's in more than one state at the same time, nothing is interacting with it. That would be like the particle here before it interacts with the detector. I've drawn this particle as a point, but if I were to be more accurate about it, I would draw it as a big question mark, because this point implies that the particle actually is at this location at a certain moment in time, implying that it's at this location at another moment in time, and so on. But this phenomenon of this wave, this probability distribution, implies that the particle must have gone through both this slot and also this slot, because otherwise there can't be an interference pattern. And yet, I explained to you that this occurs even though there's only one particle, and you can disassemble the experiment and reassemble it a week later. So the whole thing is completely impossible using pictures that are visualizable. The true picture of reality, as ancient Kabbalists said, is not something that you can picture using visual imagination. It's beyond visual imagination. The other statement that I made about particles being in two places at once, which is something I said in the movie, refers to a unique condition called a Bose-Einstein condensate, which occurs near absolute zero when billions of individual particles merge together and lose their individual identity. Please don't confuse this with Adam Kadmon or advanced stages of Kabbalah. This is a physical phenomenon that just occurs in laboratories. You can have 16 billion rubidium atoms all merge, they lose their individual identity, and they become a single particle. This entity, which is detected, so it's not a superposition, such entities can be created with 2, 4, 8, as many as 3,800 individual centers, so that they are in fact in more than two places at once. They're in as many as 3,800 places at once. And it's a unique state of matter. It is not 3,800 or two separate particles. It's actually one particle in multiple places simultaneously. It's not the same thing as a superposition. Fine. Yes. It's getting okay. Thank you all very much for your attention, and again, it's been a pleasure for me being here. Thank you.